This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, Aftco, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good afternoon and evening, depending on where you're listening to, because this great country has 3 or 4 time zones. I think we had 4. Now I think maybe we only have 3. There might be a mountain time zone that's sandwiched in there. Very small sliver that's not West Coast time and not Central time or Eastern time. But there's also a chance that they did away with that. I don't know if they did away with that. Guess tonight's Dave Rush. Dave, did they do away with the mountain time zone?
I don't think so.
You think there's still 4 time zones in the United States?
We could find out.
Yeah, that'd be an easy one to look up. All I know is when we were on East Coast time in Champlain this past week, where I drove 56 hours to not even weigh my fish in on day 2 of the Bass Nation Regional and finish 120th. We called my wife's family back in California, and there was only a 3-hour time difference, but I thought there was going to be a 4-hour time difference.
Those things are very confusing, but yes, there are 4 time zones
In the United States.
in the United States.
We took off at that Bass Nation Championship at 5:30 in the morning. First boat launched at 5, took off at 5:30. We were in the water at 4:30 because I was boat 5 on the first day. It's the earliest I've ever been on the water. I had a 1:30 check-in.
It's always crazy to me when you go up north like that. We went for a photo shoot a couple months ago to the UP, and I mean it was it's getting dark like 10:30 at night. You remember going up there and it's just like those guys are like, oh, we're putting in. You hear guys talk about, oh, we've got 16-hour practice days and stuff, and you're like this. They're just
Remember before lithium?
We're like, no, really, there's 16-hour practice days.
The guys would run remember some guys who were sponsored by Yamaha specifically would strap a Yamaha gas powered generator to the back deck of their boats up north so they could practice for 16 hours without their AGMs going dead.
Yep. No need for that nowadays, right?
I'm Matt Pengrack. This is Dave Rush from Best on Tour, bestontour.net. And about every month we try to do a little recap show of everything that's going on in the industry, talking about who's in, who's out, who's won, any news that's going on. And that's what we're doing tonight. And this is probably the most action-packed BTL that we've had this year, just to try to get a snapshot of what is going on across the industry. We have a special guest tonight. We have Jody White, who works for MLF, really dialed in on the pro circuit and the Toyota series. We have the final BPT of the season that's going on out of Sandusky on Lake Erie. We're going to recap the Lane dynasty. Yeah, like Bobby Jr., winning high school national championships. You got Bobby, you got Chris, you got Arnie, and then you got Cal.
I was hoping you would bring up Arnie. I feel like he's the forgotten Lane, but man,
he's made Bass Nation championships. He's caught him. He's won tournaments. If it wasn't for Chris and Bobby, Arnie Lane, you'd be like, oh yeah, I got a hammer in Florida. He still is a hammer in Florida.
He doesn't get talked about enough. But Arnie, if you go back and do your research, man, all the Lane brothers can catch him. All of the Lane offspring can catch him. It is definitely has the makings of a dynasty for sure.
It's not the makings. It is a dynasty because Cal Lane, who I don't know. Do you remember that time we were on Oneida Lake covering a Bassmaster Elite Series tournament and Chris had Cal load the boat in 15-mile-an-hour winds and 3-footers, and I think he was 7.
I do recall that. Specifically recall it. And
yes, because he had to put the life jacket on. The life jacket went down below his knees, and Chris kept saying, come on, you can't be scared. Just gut it up here. And
power loaded it like a champion.
Rock wall right there at Oneida, if you've ever been to that. Dock on the other side, retaining wall, rock wall behind him, 3-footers coming in, and here's this 7-year-old just whipping it around, raising up the power poles and throwing it on the trailer. And the last time he loaded his boat on a trailer was as champion on Lake Champlain. Cal Lane got the job done, a little bit of minnow action. little bit of punch in action there on Lake Champlain. So we'll have Jody White on. He's currently eating dinner right now at his palatial farm in Vermont, I believe. So we'll have him on to talk about that. On the bass side, we did have a nation that was won by Hayden Marbit. It was very interesting. The Bass Nation had a lot of high-level anglers that fished that tournament with the chance to get to the national championship on Lake Hartwell. But the big news is the next 3 weeks we have two Bassmaster Elites, or next 4 weeks we have two because they're kind of traveling this week. But next week they're on Lake Champlain, no live scope. And I believe there's a week off in between. And then the St. Lawrence River, Champlain, is going to be a very defining tournament without the use of live scope for that. So we're going to talk about that. Also, who's in, who's out for the 2027 Elite Series. This is an interesting deal because if you remember, it wasn't that long ago, Dave, where it was like, man, if you wanted to fish, you could kind of fish, and maybe some guys would retire and one or two would get cut, but it wasn't as cutthroat as it is now, where it's, hey, if you're below this line, you're either fishing the opens or you're fishing the pro circuit next year. And it doesn't matter whether you've been doing this 1, 2, or 20 years.
There's been a lot of growing pains with that too, Matt, over the years. That's a great point you bring up. There was a time where it was very difficult to get cut from the Elite Series, if you recall.
Yes, but we're going to have 10 EQ anglers coming in November, 10 Elite Series guys that are going to drop, and then also on the BPT that takes place on Sandusky. Remember the last time they were on Sandusky for the Super Tournament? Lucas reposted some of those pictures there, but it was rocking and rolling.
Yeah, Lucas standing his Phoenix straight up. Always some good photo ops. A little bit different this time. BPT obviously enacts a trailering policy, which makes sense specifically in an event like that. But that presents its own issues, right? It's not like you can just trailer around to the other side of the lake. Not a lot of bridges that go over the Great Lakes. So
yeah, so we'll talk about that, and then also. I think we'll probably cap things off. I don't know if Jody White will want to stay on for this, but you have anglers that are outspoken where, hey, if something's on their mind, they're going to get on and they're going to talk about it. They're going to let you know. You got anglers that are controversial. And then there's guys who aren't really known for taking a stance, I guess, and just publicly saying something without kind of being prompted about it. Michael Neal with a very interesting 3.5-4 minute video last week, obviously very talented BPT angler and business owner. Is it fair to say, Dave, that Michael Neal has a very underrated business mind? Can't believe I'm saying that.
I mean, from my perspective, not underrated. I think to the general public, a lot of people aren't aware that Michael Neal is the proprietor of Real Deal Tackle in Dayton, Tennessee. And man, if you've ever been to Chickamauga, it was on the shores there at Lake Chickamauga. Dayton Boat Dock was his business for a long time. Recently has a new location of Real Deal Tackle there in Dayton. But yeah, I would say Michael is a very, very smart businessman. And like you said, doesn't say much when it comes to a lot of topics, kind of keeps to himself, keeps his nose to the grindstone and does his talking with the rod and reel. But this was a little business talk, so we'll get into that as well.
Yeah, if you actually go to the Real Deal Tackle website right now, this is a little preview of what is to come. But that's what greets you when you get there. And he went it really in depth on some things I don't think a lot of people are thinking about when it comes to the tackle industry, specifically the chaos that we've seen with the urchin style baits.
I think that's a great description. Chaos.
All right. Let's get things started with the Elite Series, and then we'll bring Jody White in, and then we'll circle back. We'll talk about MLF. We'll throw a little, I didn't even mention the Toyota series that was out of Messina also, where they were limited to Messina to the lock. So it was like a 15-20 mile stretch of river. I don't know if they're planning on doing that before the NPFL, which was 2 weeks ago. We can still maybe talk a little bit about that, where there was quite a debacle that may have huge implications in championship and Angler of the Year qualifications on that. A lot of guys in the first 3 flights on the first day of that tournament got locked out. But let's talk about the Elite Series. Trey McKinney has been in this position before. He finds himself in the position again going into the last 2 events, leading the Angler of the Year with a talented Canadian on waters that he's familiar with chasing him. He's led it. He's dropped down. He's back to leading it again. Is this the year that Trey McKinney, I don't even want to say finally because he's still so young, but with his past, is this the year that Trey McKinney puts an Angler of the Year under his belt and really puts kind of the first notch in what is uncontroversial statement here, saying a future Hall of Fame career?
Well, we've got 2 tournaments left to find out, Matt. It's hard to say, but you really wouldn't want Corey Johnson to be the guy that's tracking you down on those 2 fisheries with his track record and the fact that let's face it, Corey's an intimidating guy. Not saying that Trey is intimidated by Corey, but we have seen in the past where guys that can use that to their advantage to get in people's head have done so. I mean, you've seen Jason Christie do it. You've seen Greg Hackney do it. I mean, we've seen a lot of gamesmanship, a lot of the mental game come into play. I think Trey is very strong angler mentally. He doesn't seem to get flustered or shaken up a lot by any situation. But, I mean, it's only, a 16-point lead right now?
It is right now, and this is the other thing that I wanted to get your take on. We're saying it's the end of the year, but it's really a quarter of the season that's still left. There's 2 events left, and the points obviously don't shift as much in the final 2 as they do in the first 2, but a point is a point, and the point still has the value whether it's the first or the last. And if you look at Corey here with 538 and Bob Downey with 504, I mean, you're talking about a 35-point difference in the top 7 with a no-scope event and the St. Lawrence River with less long runs due to the fact that they're taking out of Clayton this time, but still you're dealing with a river and a Great Lake there. How many guys are really in contention for the Angler of the Year? Still, it seems like this year more so than in past years. You've got a Drew Cook, a Cole Sands, a John Garrett, a Brandon Cobb, a Bob Downey. I mean, even throw in a Jay Shakura and a Caleb Welcher with 485 points, who have a legit shot at making a run at the Angler of the Year title this year.
Great point. I believe we certainly are focused on Trey and Corey, but there are some guys in the mix. I mean, Drew's only 1 point behind Corey. Mm-hmm. He's had an outstanding season. The numbers definitely tell the story. Trey's leading, but Trey has had a hiccup in a non-forward facing sonar event. I mean, Trey did not do well at Santee Cooper. That was a traditional fishing tournament without forward facing sonar. That's something that he has definitely overcome. The numbers tell the story. Like I said, I mean, he's had a great season. He's had good tournaments that did not involve using forward-facing sonar, but you wonder if that doesn't creep into his head a little bit. But I can assure you there's nobody out there that's worked as hard as Trey McKinney, put in the time, effort. I would not be surprised if he was up there before off limits, putting in work on Champlain. But as we well know, a lot of action on Champlain recently, and weather can play a massive factor at Lake Champlain and can change your game plan in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. The last time they were up there in 2024, Trey finished 42nd, and that was with live scope, and that was on Lake Champlain. But he also almost hit 100 pounds on Lake St. Clair with the smallmouth. So I don't think it's outlandish to say that I think your Angler of the Year is going to top 10 both of the final 2 Elite Series events. I think with that field, those guys in the top 10 and what the point distribution is, I think in order to get it done, you're going to have 2 top 10s, no scope on Champlain, and then scope on the St. Lawrence River. Is there any way that you do it without 2 top 10s? I don't think there is.
I don't think so. And I'm looking back here while we're talking. I mean, when's the last time Corey Johnson didn't top 10 at the St. Lawrence River?
I mean, where he didn't break down?
Yeah. I mean, he won in 2025. He won in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guys.
You look at that list: McKinney, Corey, Drew, Cole, John, Brandon Cobb, Bob Dowdy, Shakuret, Welcher. Hell of a year for Caleb Hudson too in 10th.
Second in 2022. Like I said, I mean it that's not the guy you want breathing down your neck. I mean, the pressure could. I mean, in all honesty, the pressure could not be higher on Trey McKinney. He's had it. He's been in position to do this for the last 2 seasons. He's in position to do it again. He had his bomb, got it out of the way. We've seen guys have worse tournament finishes than him. Brandon Polinick started the year at Okeechobee during the AOY season in the hundreds and ends up coming back and win it. Trey McKinney, a 90th place finish at Santee Cooper at a tournament. If you talk to Trey, he thought he was really going to do well there and ended up not panning out for him. But man, I mean, he's obviously going to have to perform very well at both events, because I just don't see a scenario where Corey Johnson doesn't do well at Champlain and St. Lawrence River.
I totally agree. 2 more names on the Elite Series before we move on that I really want to point out that is almost just as interesting to watch this develop in the final 2 events of the year as it is at the top of the board. That's, you mentioned him, Brandon Polinick, who's currently in 47th. Would be very interesting to see. You know, he's had some moments on Champlain. Some would argue top 5 Elite Series hours on Lake Champlain, as well as on the St. Lawrence River. And this is a guy that I've got circled. You want to talk about a year that has encapsulated his career. And it's weird how there's certain guys, and it's like this in any sport.
I know where you're going with this.
They always find themselves in a position for a heroic moment. Like there's quarterbacks that are like that. There's championship guys that are like that. And and it's always like, if you drew this up in a movie, this wouldn't be very realistic. And that's right above Polinick, which is Mike Iaconelli in 46th right now, with it looking like it'll go 41-42 for the Bassmaster Classic. He is like 15 points out with 2 left. He's from the East Coast. History on Champlain, history on the St. Lawrence, fishing in what he's claiming to be his last Elite Series year. Ike in the Hartwell Classic in 27 with a heroic run in 5-footers on the final day of the St. Lawrence River to come in with 26 pounds of smallmouth would be pretty special.
I would say fair to mention that Ike has a flair for the dramatic. Got a chance to talk to Ike and Becky a good bit at ICAST this year. And one thing I really noticed was that Ike is in a really good space. I mean, Ike was really having a good time at ICAST. A few of the post ICAST parties and stuff in the evenings. Looks like Ike was really embracing this being his final season. I think he's had some moments this year as well. I mean, top 10s. He's done really good, and he's always continued to jump in regional tournaments, kind of stay sharp. He's fishing a lot. I could see Ike really making a run here and getting into the Classic. I think that would be a great way to bookend his career. He's got some moments at Hartwell too. I mean, you know, some things that they replay a ton on Bassmaster Live, Ike at Lake Hartwell. So that would be a great way to finish it up. I really thought you were going the Carl Jacobson route. Carl is one of those guys also that always seems to be kind of hanging right around that Classic cut and figures out a way to get in the last event or 2 of the season.
Yeah, I have one guy who never gives up and one guy fears his heart. So 2 pretty good guys. I would be interested to see how much of an advantage the no scope on Lake Champlain would be for Mike Iaconelli if this is more in his wheelhouse. And it would be nice if we had a Lake Champlain guru to talk about this. Now, I don't know how much he'll be willing to, because he is with MLF, but if we just talk about Mike Iaconelli as a human being fishing on Lake Champlain with no live scope and not necessarily in a Bassmaster Elite Series tournament, Jody White's a pretty darn good guy to talk about that with. What's up, Jody?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Jody White from MLF. He's actually just got off a bender back-to-back weeks. He got to watch Cal Lane lift his first trophy and then covered a very unique Toyota series out of Messina on the St. Lawrence. So would love to get your thoughts on Ike, on Champlain this upcoming week. You just spent a week there covering it, day 5 with Cal Lane. Is that out yet?
It is. It was either out yesterday or this morning. And
okay.
It's a pretty good one. I mean, it's fun. We had a good time. We got a lot of bites.
Yeah, so you've been out with that. You've been on the
no
lake.
scope screens in any of it, if that is a thing people
that
like.
Definitely helps. So what are your thoughts, Jody? You live in Vermont on one of the nation's top sheep farms. Also, well, it's true, is it not?
Sort of, yeah. Maybe not by like sheer quantity, but I think we've got
quality.
It's a quality farm,
absolutely.
I hear.
Yeah.
And does Ike have a huge advantage here with the guys with the scopes turned off on Champlain next week?
I don't know about huge advantage, but I do think it's in his wheelhouse. You know, I think that we've seen Ike struggle a little bit when he has to fish a really scope-heavy tournament, and I think that guys like, you know, Mike Iaconelli, Brian Schmidt, like, I think those guys are probably licking their chops, and they probably should be. Because there, as you saw, even just from the pro circuit to that Bass Nation event, there's a big difference in like what Champlain is capable of.
I noticed.
Plays in Champlain when you have 3 hours of scope versus a full day of scope. And those smallmouth that guys are catching that are, you know, 30, you know, they're huge, right? Like not 30-pound bags of smallmouth, but what Hayden had the last day, like
24.
Like, you're not catching those fish no scope. It's just they're not in a targetable position without it. And so a lot of largemouth are going to get caught in that Elite Series tournament. And I'm really curious to see like what the weights are going to be, because multi-day largemouth tournaments with 100 boats, like there's only so much shallow cover. There's maybe only so many fish to go around, maybe not. Maybe the whole lake will play. Like, we don't exactly know because we haven't really seen one of these in a long time. And like, I'm jazzed, and I think that Ike is gonna do really good, or he could do really good, because I think the smallmouth are going to be a much smaller factor than we've seen historically or recently on Champlain.
Very interesting. So there's the setup of it. My thoughts after just having fished there for a week are my results don't show that. It sucked. But in practice, you could do 18 to 19 and a half of smallmouth. I've never seen fish so aggressive in my entire life in 3 to 5 foot of water on a koi key. And you literally didn't need live scope, because the only thing you would see on the live scope when you cast to visible cover that you could see with your eyes was a blur of something coming off the bottom, and the next thing you know, your drag was screaming. Like the scope didn't, like you didn't have to have live scope. Like it wasn't like, oh, eat it, or cast to it. You would cast within 20 yards of something that looked like there might be a smallmouth on it, and if there was on it, it would attack it with a level of hatred that I have not seen before in a fish.
Yeah, I think that the shallow smallmouth, you know, no scope or like very light scope, is kind of it's the X factor in the tournament, because I think the largemouth stuff, like we understand, or we have a pretty good idea of what can happen there. And the shallow or like real target oriented smallmouth, they didn't play that big in the pro circuit. Like there were some guys who got checks or almost got checks catching mostly smallmouth, no scope. Will Harkins did really good catching no scope smallmouth. Miles Berghoff caught some no scope smallmouth. Like there was definitely, they were there to be had, but as it gets later in the year, like I wonder if that's less of a factor. I'm not sure. Like I guess we'll find out. But you know, Champlain isn't a lake that's famous for like always having a shallow smallmouth bite, like the St. Lawrence, like Ontario, where like people catch 30-pound bags of shallow smallmouth, you know, year round basically. I still wonder if like a lot of those fish are coming off of being like a little bit post spawn, a little bit shallow, and if that'll go away as we get later in the year.
That's a great point, because all the ones I caught up shallow, huge frames on them, 340s to 370s. The ones that were scope fish, much more likely to get a blimp.
Yeah, but I do think like if you could catch a bunch of high 3-pound smallmouth shallow, you would stand a chance to do really good in that tournament. Because I don't think it's a tournament where everyone's coming in with 20 pounds like you saw in that Bass Nation event, which was, well, okay, many people.
We'll get back to that.
Like
but talk about that. Hayden Marbut won the Bass Nation. He had 24 plus on the last day. You know Hayden fairly well. I mean, the guy's, that's not a surprise.
Yeah, no, not at all. Actually, do you want to know a fun fact? That's
what this show's all about, Jody.
Yeah, you do. So I hope this should have been publicized. If it has not, so there's a lot of notable tournaments on Champlain, but last year Tucker Smith won the Toyota Series on Champlain. It was a 2-day event. The last day got canceled. Tucker won. Cal Lane won the Pro Circuit. Hayden Marbut just won the Bass Nation. They all live on the same street in Grant, Alabama. Tucker and Hayden are roommates, and they all won it from like different parts of the lake, like doing sort of different things. Like, you want to move to Grant, Alabama if you want to win a tournament on Champlain right now. It's the craziest thing ever. Like, as soon as I saw that Hayden won, I was like, and I was texting with Cal, I was like, holy crap, is this like real? And I was like looking up the streets. I'm like, yeah, that's there. Like, they can walk to each other's houses. It's incredible. Sorry, I got fired up.
No. On that, Dave, were you able to wrangle up a giveaway for tonight?
I was. You want me to go grab it?
Can we split those into two, or do they
let me
have
see
to
what I got?
Do they have to be a package deal?
Well, let me
because
go
I'd
see.
like to celebrate that bizarre stat by rewarding one of the listeners who's in the comment section who didn't make a comment looking for a giveaway, but they're going to get one just because that stat fired me up.
Give me a second.
We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do a giveaway, and then we'll transition that. I know Dave has been on the Banks Shaw bandwagon, has some crazy stats that you have to go back for 2 years. That, like, when you do these stats, you have to look at them because you think you clicked on the same year twice, but you did not. Jody, you're kind of an expert in this too, so we'll get into that. But Dave's going to go get some stuff potentially for a giveaway. We'll do a giveaway, then we'll transition from the Elite Series over into MLF, where you have a lot of things going on over at MLF right now at all the different levels. So it is a BTL at night with Dave Rush from bestontour.net, weekly newsletter. Sign up for free, bestontour.net. Jody White from Major League Fishing. You can see all of his work on the MLF YouTube channel and over at majorleaguefishing.com as well. And we'll be back in 2 minutes and 49 seconds.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
My job is to catch bass. The one thing that connects me to that bass is the fishing line. That's why I choose Sunline. Braid, monofilament, fluorocarbon, leader material, Sunline makes a line for every situation and almost every technique. When my job's on the line, I choose Sunline.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
All right, welcome back. BTL Special Edition Tuesday night. Jody White, MLF, Dave Rush, Best on Tour. Jody White hit us with a stat. What was the stat? The last, 3 Champlain winners across 2 different leagues and 3 different levels of tournaments all live within sight of each other on the same street in Grant, Alabama.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
It's really weird. I mean, 2 of them live in the same house.
And it's not
roommates.
like one of them figured it out and then told his other buddies, because the way they were won, you said, are completely different times of the year, different areas, different stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Like they did not find one honey hole and manage to keep it secret for just them. Like it is a very real deal that 3 different people went there and figured out the lake 3 different times and crushed.
Do you feel like there's any things that tie that together, Jody? Like similarities of fishing styles for those guys, or lakes around Grant that I know not necessarily set up exactly like Champlain, but maybe offer some things that make guys strong on a lake like Champlain?
I mean, so Grant is, it's right next to Gunnersville, obviously. And so, I mean, maybe you could say that they fish against a really high level of competition. And then like Tucker and Hayden, they were team partners. They're both really, really good minnow fishermen. They're very good, scopers. Like I am sure that they approach lakes similarly a lot of time. And Cal, he might have won it just on scope, honestly, or come pretty close. Like he had a really good smallmouth zone. And he found his largemouth basically because it was so windy, and it was like one of the only places to fish, and he was stubborn and it looked good, and he likes to punch. So I don't know, other than them not being very old, I don't really have a similarity, thing that really stretches between them.
I think one thing I noticed, Matt, was a sub story for me, which stood out just because of proximity, but a lot of Lake Lanier and Clarks Hill guys finished very high in that tournament as well.
Yeah, I was talking Dan Cavalli.
You know where the
finished
championship
second.
is.
Yeah, Dan
Which
finished second.
Makes sense
in that.
of how many guys that were there trying to be at Hartwell. But
and I asked Dan if he'd ever been there to Hartwell, and he said no. And I said, "You'll like it." You want to do a giveaway, Dave?
Yeah.
All right. What do we got?
You do it. All right. So we've got 2 accessories from Beatdown Outdoors. We have a transom saver.
The new transom saver.
New transom
Universal
saver.
fit. So that's whether you've got a Merc or a Yamaha.
Yes. And then we have...
I think it works for Suzuki's too.
Oh.
Yep.
I think Rob might have one.
Okay.
We have the transom saver and steering clips combo.
I like it. So if I select your random comment from the first part of the show and land on it, send an email to matt@basszone.com. I will forward that on to the crew over at Best on Tour, and they will mail that out.
Yep. Jody was right. As usual, fits a Honda, Suzuki, and a Tohatsu, if there's any Tohatsu owners out there.
Have you ever, dude, you cover a lot of regional stuff, the Toyotas and all that. Have you ever just been shooting a photo gallery at Blast Off and someone just rolls dirty through in a Tohatsu?
I don't think I have. I've seen Hondas. I've seen Skeeters with Mercs. I've seen Suzukis. I've seen a pretty wide gamut. There's still Evinrudes out there. I don't know that I've ever seen a bass boat with a Tohatsu. I wonder what horsepower they make them up to. Like that. I always thought they were more like just pretty small horsepower motors. So maybe I need to cover more like Mississippi River events or something.
250 Tohatsu? Just
do they not?
fast.
Do they?
I don't know.
It might be fast.
Says
someone fire up Temu. Check it out.
250. That's what I'm getting.
You can get it. You can get it with free shipping, probably.
Yeah.
Build it
Great
yourself.
question here. Did you ever get a hold of John Bondi yet, Matt? Breaking news: John Bondi Monday, 8:30 a.m. Central Time on BTL.
You're gonna get into the Bondi bait.
Oh, we're doing the Elite Series, Moose Track sponsorship, Bondi baits, the whole 9 yards. Former Elite Series angler up in Michigan now, he basically designed the Koike of muskie baits. What would that? Did you say that's a fair assessment, Dave and Jody?
I only sort of know what a Bondi bait is.
Extremely popular muskie bait.
Yes.
I don't know if it had the, I guess timing wise with social media and the internet probably was not as crazy as the urchin and Koike style stuff now, but for a while there it was a huge bait. Is it still available?
Oh yeah. He makes a ton of them. He also does a ton of walleye stuff. All right, let's go with the motor. What are the motor clips that keep your engine from wobbling?
So we'll
go with those first.
Combo. Well, this is the biggest. This is the bigger.
Oh, that's one.
So that's
okay. So what's the other one?
The transom saver and the clips in a combo, and the other one is just the transom saver.
Okay, well, let's give the transom saver away now.
Okay.
And then later on in the show, we'll do the combo as well too. So if you are selected, just email matt@basszone.com and also info@basszone.com. That's how we keep track of the prize winners. That will get forwarded to Best on Tour. They will be in contact with you and you save it. This is not a cheap giveaway. This is a couple $100, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, I think, let's see, maybe one.
And I know the thing about the clips, especially if you live up north, they do not freeze in the wintertime.
No, they're actually really nice. I mean, they're you know how you bust your knuckles a ton on this other stuff. These are more like kind of, the little hair clip type deals, spring loaded deals. Super nice. And
so I have been scrolling the comments over here.
$149.99 for the saver and steering clip combo, and it's $129.99 for just a transom saver. So yeah, some nice prizes provided by Beatdown tonight.
All right, I'm gonna look at the camera. I'm scrolling through all the comments from the beginning of the show, just going up and down. And Jody White, sometime in the next 5 seconds, just say stop. It is on David Royal -Y90. You won the transom saver from Beatdown Outdoors. There it is right there. Congratulations. Email me with your contact info, your mailing address, your name, like where to mail it to. I'll forward that on to the team over at Best on Tour. I keep saying that because I'm repeating that I am not mailing this out, which means you will get this product soon.
Well, wait a second. Courtney, I thought Courtney's handled all of these shipping problems.
We've been mailing out a bunch of stuff. All right, let's get back to it. This is some crazy stuff, Dave. You and I have talked before. Have you? And then we'll bring Jody White in, who will blow our minds with some actual stats. Have you ever, in your time covering this over the last 15 years, seen anything like what Bank Shaw is doing over on MLF at all levels right now?
You want to think that when we were lucky enough to experience the Kevin run and the Skeet run, that it was similar, but I think if you took the stats and looked at it, it's probably not. Those guys were very good. They had their runs, but over the past 2 years, what Banks has done is just phenomenal. I mean, back-to-back AOYs, and the amount of money he's winning is, I think, what sets it apart.
He just won the Angler of the Year on the pro circuit for the second year in a row. It was the Invitationals last year in 2025. He had a historic run. He had a historic run this year. Jody, you go to all those events. You cover all those events. I know when we were covering the Elite Series, when Kevin was on his Angler of the Year run, there were very few guys that would say it, but they knew they were fishing for second place in the Angler of the Year. Do you get that vibe covering the pro circuit that guys are like there's Banks, and then there's everybody else?
The number of guys who are like, well, I hope I can stay close to Banks this week, or like, yeah, Banks will win. It's like, if I covered the BPT and I was there at every single BPT event, maybe you would get that vibe with like Wheeler, especially, maybe before this year. But like, I've never seen anything like it. It is the number of folks who are just convinced that Banks is gonna catch him, and that of course he does catch him. It's incredible. And like, even Banks, like, he'll say, well, I'm going to try to be steady and find some community holes and not really do anything special. I just need to get a top 10, and I usually, like, he won't say I usually get a top 10, but essentially that'll be what it boils down to. And you'll be like, well, sure, but, top 10s are hard. You've never been to Champlain before. Like, maybe you won't find them. Nope. He had the top 10 in like first 20 minutes every morning. It's like, it's unbelievable, dude.
You've watched him fish on the water, like you've covered him, you've done coverage of him. When he's fishing, is there anything technically that he's doing better than other? Is it areas? Is it a mindset? Fishing is one of the hardest things. You watch someone dunk a ball or swing a golf club, and you can tell pretty much right away whether they're a phenom or not. It's a lot more difficult to figure that out in fishing. Is there any physical attributes that sets him apart, or is it all decision making and mental?
So there's definitely a little of both. For some of his competition, he is better at certain things. On Champlain, he and Bobby Lane and Matt Reed and a couple of other folks occasionally were sharing the same like little zone for smallmouth, and they all started there all 2 days, and then Banks was there alone on day 3, I think. And I watched both day 1 and day 2. I was there watching these guys fish, and I think that probably for every like fish that the rest of that group caught, I would say Banks caught like 2, maybe 3. Like, it was like constant. He's just like, there's one, zip, reeling it in, zip, reeling it in, zip, reeling it in. And, you watch, like, there were a couple times where I swear he went behind a guy and caught a fish that they'd just been fishing for just because he could. And I don't know if he actually was doing that, but, like, it felt like he was doing that. And that's a situation where, like, all these guys have good electronics. Like, they're seeing the same fish,
Mm-hmm.
almost all the same fish. And, like, especially, so Bobby Lane and Matt Reed, like, they've been at fishing at the highest levels for a while. These are very accomplished anglers. Like, they're good. And Banks was just fishing circles around them. So there are some cases where he's definitely better. Now, would he have fished circles around, Trey McKinney and Emil Wagner and I don't know, like, Carter Nutt, like, if they had all been there together? I would guess not. I would guess it'd be a little bit more even. But there is some stuff Banks is awesome at. And then he's also, I mean, gosh, he finds like a way to catch fish every time, every tournament, that sometimes it's obvious, but he just executes on it better. Like, he was catching them on a Rapala the CEO on docks, and like, that was an obvious thing on Champlain in my mind. And he was, catching like a 4-pounder or a 5-pounder, and lots of other guys didn't do that. And there was a Toyota at Pickwick this year, and he almost won it. Hayden O'Barr won the tournament. Banks stood a really good chance to win it. And like, he was catching like a lot of fish off bed, like with his eyes in that tournament. And there were a lot of people who weren't really on that at all. So he's just all around, he's very impressive. Like, doesn't like look super different when you watch him fish, but he's not missing decisions.
That's the biggest thing, Dave. Don't you think, in the sport? I think that's what I struggle with. That's what I think a lot of anglers struggle with, is missing decisions, stringing good decisions together. in my opinion, is I feel like you get to a certain level and everybody can catch fish. Catching fish isn't the impressive thing. It's a decision making that leads you to catching the fish that is impressive. Because when they make it easy, it's amazing how the good anglers make it look easy. And Banks makes it look easy.
Absolutely. And Jody's in the position you and I were in when Kevin and Skeet and some of the guys on the Elite Series were having their runs. We were actually out on the water, able to watch these guys making decisions in real time. And you think back to some of the times that you saw guys pull the plug on an area or make a bait change or just do something in the moment that if you weren't really paying attention, it didn't seem like that big of a deal. But that was when they were in the groove, making the proper decisions at the right time. And they're well-rounded anglers. And I think that's exactly what Jody's experiencing, being able to watch Banks on the water currently.
Yeah. Let me say no more nice things about Banks. Sorry. So you know that you follow a tournament, right?
That he won?
That he won, yeah. He was running from, what's that creek that's pretty clear and it's near takeoff? What's it called? It's not far from takeoff.
Longtown,
yeah. He was running during his 3 hours of scope. He would start in Longtown, and then he would run all the way down to the dam, which is like Porum and that arm down there.
Mm-hmm.
Like he'd just rip right on through, halfway through, and like that's 3 hours of scope time.
He would run in the middle of his scope time from Porum to Longtown. That's a 20-minute run.
Right, and that's like a risk that I don't think many other people would want to take. And if it hadn't paid off, you'd be like, well, you really overreached on that one there, Banks. And instead, he ran down there the last day and caught the winning fish, with like so-and-so minutes left in his scope period. And, he like stacks those decisions where he'll take a risk or a perceived risk and it works. And when he's making the call, he probably doesn't even think it's a risk. He's like, I'm going to do this because usually it pans out because I'm fishing really well. But for most other people, it would seem like a risk. It's really, he's fishing on an incredible level right now. He's thinking on an incredible level. Like, it's a real privilege to get to watch him as much as I do. Like, I'm in awe all the time when I'm like, when I see him come up to weigh in, it's like, oh yeah, Banks has 20 pounds again. It's not supposed to be that easy, but he makes it look like it is.
I mean,
do you think him having obviously 2025 awesome season for Banks, gets to the BPT, has one little stumble at the BPT, but has success on the BPT as well? Do you think that's just kicked it into a whole nother level with him having that confidence and competing on both of those tours? Is he fishing at a higher level now than he was previously?
I think he probably is. I doubt that I think some of it is probably due to the BPT because I think that format, it forces you to be on fish constantly, like you are, unlike any other format. But I don't really, I wouldn't say it's just him fishing 2 tours because, I mean, really, he's fishing 3. He's fishing a bunch of Toyotas. I've told him he should fish the NPFL because he's really pretty good no scope. And he said if they allowed scope in practice, he would. So, like, I think that, I don't think it's just that. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't hurt, but he's, he had a lot of confidence by the end of last year. And this year he's like had some times where he got beat or missed it. And
he finished in the 40s. Just point that out. That's where he got,
which is pretty far down on the BPT from a percentage standpoint.
Well, yeah, no, that's true. That's bottom 20%.
And so, like, I think that some of that, like, it's maybe made him work a little bit harder, or maybe made him, like, be like, oh, I gotta tighten up over here a little bit. And, Banks being any better than he already is dangerous.
Just to put it in perspective, this guy was fishing high school national championships in 2021. In 2024, that's not even 3 years ago because we're in the middle of 2026 right now. He was fishing college. He started like his first year on the pro circuit was last year. He wins Angler of the Year by a decent margin. Just listen to this. This is
really
nuts.
a blowout.
He finished 3rd, 9th, 8th, 1st, 4th, and 3rd. That's on the pro circuit. So the
Invitationals last year
is what
but
they called it. Then he goes to the championship and he finishes 2nd in the championship. Then he gets bumped up to the BPT this year. So he decides to fish the BPT, where he's in the top 10 of the Angler of the Year standings. But we're just talking about, this is the old FLW tour. That was the invitationals, the pro circuit, whatever you want to call it. So we're not talking, we're talking a $5,000 entry fee here and guys who do this for a living. Then he goes into this year and he wins it back-to-back years. He opened the year with a 35th place finish. And then he went 8th, 1st, 17th, 1st, and 3rd. So in 2 years, he is top 10 every single pro circuit event except 2.
So I think something to note as well is he's fished 34 MLF events since 2022. He's earned over $1 million. He's averaging over $29,000 an event.
And he's top 10ing 68% of the events that he's fished with MLF and winning 20% of them. Over 20% of the entries. He has 58 MLF events and has won 11 of them.
And to Jody's point too, across varying formats, right? Because the formats have been different on the Tackle Warehouse Pro circuit, Toyota Series, BPT, BFLs, whatever you want to throw in that he's competed in, just on the MLF side. And we're not even talking about other things he's fished, but the almost $30,000 every time he drops the boat in for an MLF event. That's just crazy impressive.
Yeah. And like, very often with a live camera in the boat, with like a lot of coverage, like, and a lot of other good fishermen he's fishing against. I don't know that the pro circuit field is necessarily as deep as some other fields, but it's not got a bunch of slouches in it. The top 30 guys in that field they're gonna get you pretty much every time out if you slip up. It's tough what he's doing. It's incredible.
If you look at it, right now, look at Jacob Wheeler. I don't think anyone would argue that right now on the MLF side, he's the guy holding the torch. He has 126 total MLF events with 74 top 10s. And this is across 2. Like we're talking, this includes the All-American win. This includes Toyotas. This includes 50 angler. It includes actually way more smaller field events because he's been on the BPT with 80 guys since 2019. Yeah. Banks has been fishing 130, anywhere from 90 to 180 boat events. Jacob Wheeler is top 10, 60% of his events. Banks Shaw's top 10ing 68%. And you have to remember, almost half of those events for Wheeler are 80 boats or less.
Well, and like if you want to just look at money, so Banks, we've got him listed for $1 million right now, which is essentially 2 or 3 years of fishing, 2.5 years, basically. And Wheeler's earned like $4 million with us since I think like 2010 was when he fished his first event or something like that. And he had some breaks in between there, but it's pretty mind-boggling. I would need to check, but I'm like 90% sure that if he's not right now, by the end of the year, Banks will be the youngest millionaire for us. Drew was the youngest millionaire last year after he finished 2nd at the Toyota Series Championship, and I'm pretty sure Banks just got him.
How old was Michael Bennett when he won the Cup? Or are you not
he
going
was
back
super
to
old.
FLW?
He was 24.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
or something
that.
like that. I wrote an article about this. I'll find it.
One of the other reasons I wanted to get you on is we have a bit of drama. So this week there's going to be There's going to be some veterans who are on the BPT who are not on the BPT after this week out of Sandusky. And we know who's going to be on the BPT next year, assuming that they accept the invitations, but we do not know yet who is going to be off. But I guess if there was a downside to Cal Lane's week this past week, it's that from your calculations, from what MLF did, he missed the BPT spot by 1 spot. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on was to make sure we understand the 5 guys who punched their ticket to the BPT next year.
Yeah. So the 5 guys who made it were Ryan Lockney, Connor Jacob, Carter Nutt, Brody Campbell, and then Will Harkins. I would expect all of them to take their invites and fish. I guess you never know. But like in this, there have been years in past where I've been like, well, he probably won't take it. And like if Dylan had made it, I would say, well, maybe he won't take it. We'll look at schedules. But I think all these guys are pretty locked in the scheme of things. And they all had like awesome years. You know, Ryan finished, I think, second in AOY, the one rookie of the year. You know, Connor Jacob, Carter Nutt, like they all did fantastic. Carter won a tournament. Ryan, I don't think, missed a check all year. You know, Brody Campbell, like, has been super, super close before. He's a guy who was pretty much like, he was kind of overdue to make it. Finally got it done. He's going to be, you know, a terror on the next level, I'm sure. And then Will is one of, like, he's an NPFL success story. Like, he came over, he had fished the NPFL, came fished the pro circuit this year, and I mean, fished his way all the way through and did awesome. And like, he stored his boat at my house. I've met a bunch of his family. Like, he's a cool guy. I'm excited to see what happens next for him.
Side note, shoot me Connor's cell phone after this, because I met him at the Bass Nation Championship on Grand Lake in 24 at the boat ramp.
You should have him on.
Then he went out, made the Bassmaster Classic through that. Now he's on the BPT, and I hit him up in a DS, slid into his DMs today and was like, hey man, you want to jump on BTL? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. But it's hard to check DMs, so I need to text him because I'm trying to get him on for tomorrow's show, actually.
Hey, you know what? First of all, I'll send you that right now. Second, it's going to be probably a long show because Connor is chatty when you get him going. And I love that about him. He is a talker.
Yeah, no, he seems super chill. He actually watched BTL a little bit and was like, oh, we were just putting it at the same ramp. And then he went out and smoked him on Grand. Interesting dynamic. Dylan Nutt was in going into the final one. He ended up finishing 10th. He was not in, which means that he does not have a decision to make between the 2027 Elite Series as the reigning 2026 Bassmaster Classic champion and the BPT. It was going to be interesting to see what had transpired. If that had happened, he struggled on Champlain and dropped. But in 2027, you will have both of the Nutt brothers, Carter on the BPT and Dylan on the Elite Series. I'm assuming Dylan's going to take the Elite Series invite and Carter's going to take the BPT invite, but another set of brothers on same tours, on different tours on that, but it'll be interesting to watch and see how they do. I would fully expect both of them to contend for championships and titles.
Yeah, I would really have liked to have seen them fishing the same tour wherever it was, because it's been a fun dynamic having them fish the same tour this year. And like, they're super good and they help each other be better. And like, honestly, that weigh-in at Douglas this year, so Dylan finished second and Carter won, and really we didn't know who was going to win going into weigh-in. Like, I think the unofficial leaderboard was essentially tied. It was like really special. It was cool. I like their family. Like, I'm a fan of watching those guys fish.
You talk about families, Dave, this week on the big pond up at Sandusky for the BPT, there will be a family that will not be fishing together at the top level after this. You obviously have Alton Jones Jr. on the BPT. Alton Jones, Bassmaster Classic champ, legendary angler, over $1 million in winnings, has announced this is his last year. one of the most iconic. I mean, you think of the Browers, you think of the Martins, you think of some of the other father-son duos, but you'd have to put, I think, the Joneses over the last decade right up there as the most iconic father-son duos to fish on the same tour with and against each other.
I think you'd have to. You go back, you look at Alton's career. It's been a relatively quiet retirement kind of season for Alton as far as performance, and he has not made like a huge deal out of it. He's made a few social media posts, and of course the announcement that he is retiring. But just take your time, go back and look at Alton Jones's career stats on both Bassmaster and on the MLF side. I mean, a storied career and deserves all the accolades that he has. Very hardworking guy. One of my best classic memories being from South Carolina was Alton winning that classic on Lake Hartwell, and how he did it, kind of unlocking that deep jig bite. And, one of the best sight fishermen to ever do it as well, Matt.
Yeah. When you do a live show 250 times a year, you start naming people. There's a little thing inside your head that goes, stop naming people, because you're always going to leave out some people there. But yes, the Hibdens also on that. Your thoughts on anything on Sandusky? I just mentioned it there, Jody, before we go to probably the most interesting Toyota that I can ever remember in history.
Do you want to talk like any qualification, like points things there or not? I have an article. It's in draft. It's going to go up tomorrow.
Oh, well, if you got some breaking news, yeah, hit us with it.
Absolutely.
All right. I don't think it's breaking news, but it'll help to give people an idea of what to look for or who to look for when they're looking at the standings and stuff like that. So I guess the first thing is maybe Red Crest. For that, the top 32 basically are going to make it, because there's been some double qualifiers. Like right below the cut line, like basically right now, Andy Montgomery and Mark Rose are like the last two guys in. Right below that cut line, Dustin Smith, Justin Cooper, Nick Hatfield, Bobby Lane, Anthony Gagliardi. I would say all those guys would be interesting to have in the tournament. I think Dustin Smith is one of the most interesting guys to watch in that tournament, because he's going to be a largemouth only guy, like for sure.
He's the one who doesn't even have scope on his boat, right?
Doesn't have scope, right?
And everyone was like, this is going to be interesting. He's going to get his ass kicked, and then he's come in and he's actually held his own incredibly well. Yeah,
he's actually fishing at the highest level he's ever fished at, had a pretty solid year. And if he does good at Sandusky, which he very well might, I think it could be a really legit good tournament for him. He'll make the championship in his rookie year, which would be awesome. It shows like the Red Crest cut line there, but because of like guys who have got in other ways, essentially it drops down. And then the other thing is like there are some guys who are going to get cut from the Bass Pro Tour, right? And we just talked about the guys who are coming up, and so some folks have to, come down. And there's like, we don't put the full numbers out for who is going to get cut or who won't get cut, but
why not? Why not, Jody? In golf, there's a guy standing over an 8-foot putt, and the announcers go, hey, he's in 86th right now, but we're going to go to the 18th hole, because if Jim Smith misses this putt, he's back to the mini tours. But if he makes it, he's fully exempt and his wife won't leave him.
I do not know.
I mean, that's the drama. I want to watch it. I want to say, XA,
Well, I am going to tell you a portion of the drama, and that's what I'm going to tell you.
Did I take that too far, Dave?
This
Did I cross the line with that one?
No, I'm just saying this is not a Jody call. Like, I don't think it's wrong to want to know everything. Like,
it's a professional sport. We want to root for our
It would
guys.
certainly get a lot of clicks.
Yeah, like when we're doing AOI stuff and we're talking about the top end, we know everything, right? Like, I can tell you if this guy moves up one spot, he's going to win AOI. Mm-hmm. Or if Banks finishes 14th, he might not win AOI or whatever. Like,
I mean, I was fighting for that 54th place in the EQs on the river because I knew with double qualifiers I'd be in. Was I sniffing the top? Absolutely not. Was I full of drama? Oh, you betcha.
Well, I think that, maybe write in or something like that.
All right,
or
sorry,
call
I
in and
derailed
find
this.
out.
So let's.
No, it's a good derailment. Like, it's a reasonable thing to be interested in. It's just not what we do.
We don't do it because we know these guys individually and because they're not in an arena and they're on the water and you look them in the eye. You don't want to be the guy or the organization that comes out that's like, hey, these are the guys that are in real big trouble. Like, I just. Is it more of like a personal thing to protect them, or is it because the numbers change so much, or is it just something that they haven't done in the past? Like, is there a concrete reason as to why we don't have an article on MLF or Bassmaster for that reason that says if this guy doesn't do this week, you'll never hear from him again?
Well, I bet there's like a couple of reasons, and I'm kind of guessing on this, but one is that you never know like who's going to retire, who's going to unretire, I think that it's very much a moving target who the last couple people are in, like almost on every tour, I think that that's a thing. And then I think some of it is you just don't want to be like, hey, this guy is doing bad and watch him do bad. Like, I don't think that is something that any organization really should be putting that out. And okay, I guess I'm about to talk about that a little bit, but like, I do think like, we are not Major League Baseball. We're not Sports Illustrated. We're not necessarily pundits. I think it's important to build our anglers up and, and say that, hey, these guys are good and they are worth watching and like they're good fishermen, not bad fishermen. And I feel like I don't want to say you should never criticize an angler because I don't think that's true at all. But I think that it's maybe just easier to just focus more on the positive than it is to focus on stuff that gets in the weeds of like, well, he had a really bad season because, his wife left him and his boat broke down 3 times. And I don't know. I'm just saying it could go from like, oh, this is interesting to, oh, this is a bummer,
And for fairness though, Matt, I mean, that's a totally legitimate thing. When we were out at all the tournaments and you were doing interviews, you would never go talk to a guy that had a bad day. It was just one of those deals. And we always ask ourselves why.
That they're bad or anything.
Why do you not talk to a guy who has a bad day?
All I'm talking about is just statistically, your career is in jeopardy, regardless of who it is. It could be a 10 out of 10 guy. It could be a 1 out of 10 guy, personality, liked, whatever. I don't care. Take all of the meaning out of it and just show the points. So, fishing is a weird thing. You have guys that are holding up trophies one year and can't catch a limit the next year.
Well, if Jody told us who exactly was going to requalify, it would a lot of people would be out of things to do at night on YouTube speculating. There's a lot of that going on too.
Well, and I mean, we don't know who exactly is going to requalify because they have to fish their way in.
Mm-hmm.
But the guys who are, I'll give you a group, okay? And this is the guys who are, I would say, are going to be trying the hardest.
I'm in danger. Right? That group. I'm in danger.
Yeah, they are going to Erie. There's a good chance they pre-practiced. They are buckled up no matter how windy it was. They went out. Like, these guys have a lot on the line in this tournament. And it's Dean Rojas and Colby Miller, Dustin Smith, Nick Hatfield, Marshall Hughes, and James Elam. And those are like sort of a group that like they really, really should catch them in this tournament. And so I would say just like keep an eye on that because there are some like pretty young guys, some sophomore pros, some fairly new anglers in there who I would expect would probably bounce down and fish the pro circuit or fish something else, and I would expect they would work their way back up. But there's also some guys in there who like maybe if things go bad for them at Erie, like maybe really it is one of the last times we see him fish on a national stage.
Which is wild because we talked about Dustin Smith potentially making the Red Crest in his rookie year. But
Yeah.
also one of the things that is cutthroat as hell with MLF, which we've seen in the past with
BPT is
some.
hard to stay on right now.
Yeah, you don't get
It's
a
really
grace
tough.
year. You don't get an average. If you're a rookie, you come, you fish 7 tournaments. If you suck, you're right back down to the pro circuit. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And you don't
I
even have
think
to suck.
Yeah, like you can do okay, and
And you
know,
just get
and you just
no grace.
You don't get a break. I think that it's like one of the good things about the pro circuit is a legit pretty good landing spot. You know, the checks are pretty good. That we had a big field this year. Like it's not a bad place to be, but I mean it's not the BPT. It's not the top level, and it really sucks to make it and then have to immediately continue to make it.
Okay, this is a rules question that I wanted
is.
to ask you and have you on. So Alton announces he's retiring at the end of the year. I don't know whether or not he would be in that group, but does his retirement announcement save someone or remove him from being cut, or would he be in without, just based on it without, you see what I'm saying there? Like, did it help that at the beginning of the year, he's like, hey, I'm not coming back no year, whatever. That counts as a retirement, doesn't go into an angler getting cut then.
So I am not 100% sure. It's because they take it based on 2 ways. They take it based on career average for like the first chunk of guys who stay on.
Okay.
And then they do 2026 standings.
And career average 39, 32nd, 31st. He had a 3rd place in the Angler of the Year in 2022, 33, 47.
So I would guess he is, if he's on the, actually what we should do is, and I have a spreadsheet somewhere, but it'll take me too long to find this. But if we look up Dean Rojas, because Dean is he has that same level of history, right? Like he's got a chunk of seasons. I mean, they've got to be pretty similar. Dean has been better this year, better last. I would imagine that they are pretty borderline, both of them, right? On whether they would count and make it through career average or whether they would have to make it through this year. And then Alton this year is, he hasn't had a good season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that probably even just this year alone would pull him down enough that he wouldn't really be a factor. Like I doubt that he's retiring while guaranteed a BPT spot. I wouldn't say that for sure. I would want to look at a spreadsheet, but it seems like that's probably the case.
Interesting. All right.
But he could have, fished. But now that said, if he was top 10 in points right now, that'd be a different matter, right? Like then he would be saving someone, I think, by retiring.
Angler of the Year, Dave, Jody. I am just assuming this is a 2-man race, especially with only 50 guys in the field. You'd have to have some wild stuff happen for it not to be either Jacob Wheeler or Zach Burge.
I mean, realistically, if Burge makes the top 10, he's got it. And he mostly makes the top 10.
Yeah, he's got, six top 10s this season. To me, it's just incredible that it's even this close with a guy who's got 6 top 10s.
And quite frankly, it's really not close. Because, they get 1 point for each finish?
Yeah, Burge would have to miss the top 10 and then finish let's see.
He would have to finish 13th and Wheeler would win. Because right now Wheeler has 39, 49, 50. He has a 13-point lead. So if Wheeler wins and Burge finishes 14, or if they're separated by 14 points in the standings in some way.
Yeah. And Wheeler winning wouldn't be at all surprising to me in this tournament.
He finished second in 2020.
Yeah, and Wheeler spent a ton of time on that part of Erie specifically. It's kind of it's like sneaky home water for him to a degree. He's good out there. I think he'll do really well in the tournament. I also think Burge is going to probably do really well in the tournament, and assuming he does well enough that Wheeler can't pass him. I mean, it's an amazing year. He's like crushed on the MPFL. He's crushed everything he's fished with us. Like, it's been incredible.
Wheeler kind of ran into a similar situation a couple years ago when Matt Becker won the Angler of the Year, just caught fire and got it. I mean, you look at since 2021, Wheeler's finished first, second, second, and he's currently second. Statistically likely to finish second again this year, but that's 6 consecutive years of either first or second in the Angler of the Year with either 4 or 5 first place finishes. Strong, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dynasty, whether he decides to fish for saltwater fish the rest of his life or keep winning AOIs, like, we'll see. But I think it's something else to watch, man.
Dave, what are your thoughts on the field size with 80 or 60 or 50 or however many it is? When Kevin was kind of doing this on the Elite Series, and you look at his Angler of the Year finishes, he was doing that with anywhere from 90 to 113 anglers. You're basically cutting the field in half. In your opinion, any impact on the single digit number next to him in relationship to field size, or does that not matter? He would still be doing the same thing if you double the field.
I think obviously field size plays a factor just with guys sharing water and things of that nature. But I also think what you need to look at, in my opinion, is field strength, right? And you look at the BPT field, and you could argue that it is, if not the strongest field ever assembled, one of the strongest fields. I mean, there's not a weak link typically in the years that Wheeler has been doing it. So I don't think it factors that much. I think guys on that level figure out a way to get it done no matter the field size. So if it was doubled the field, I mean, he's had success when they had larger fields. He's had success in other formats. He's had success in smaller. I mean, it just, whatever it takes, those guys are going to rise to the top, in my opinion.
You chatted much with Burge, Jody. I mean, the dude is a man of few words, and you want to talk about a guy who has used the MLF, the FLW, starting in the BFLs at 16 years old in Oklahoma in the Okie division, and worked his way up through, dabbled in a number of other things, but from college all the way up through to now potentially Angler of the Year, really utilized the FLW and now MLF platform for the last 7 years, pretty much exactly how you're supposed to build a championship level angler.
Yeah, he's used the whole system. I mean, he won the Toyota Series championship like back in the day, throwing a spinnerbait on wood and the Elk River on Wheeler, like cracking them. That was fun. I mean, when he was fishing more Toyotas, and of course when he was fishing the FLW tour, like you always had to talk to him because he was always catching them, and a lot of times there were Toyotas at Grand Lake, and he would always catch them in those. It seemed like. I don't do a lot of BPT stuff. Like I don't call the BPT guys a lot because Mitchell usually does that. So I haven't had to talk to him much this year. I could not tell you where he gets the glasses from. I feel like maybe I should know.
I think they're like $20 that they get off Temu. I'm not kidding.
Maybe I should get a pair.
He did like a thing on it where everybody was asking about it, and he said like his wife got him there, and they're just like super chill.
Yellow. So
they're not. I don't think they're like a big sponsor thing.
Yellow glasses all day. Like I can't do it when it's sunny. I've tried. I get headaches.
I have never even tried
dude,
it.
He's had a great year. It's been really wild to watch, and he's a guy like he's in his wheelhouse shallow, right? But he can catch them like every which way. Like it wouldn't shock me at all if he's scoping them up at Erie in his 3 hours, or in his period. Like
TikTok, that
wouldn't be mind blowing.
Got it off TikTok shock. He's also proof that the nicer truck you have and the louder it is and the more you lift it and the more things you do with it directly correlates to catching more and bigger bass.
It seems to be, yeah. I should get to work on my truck. Yeah, no, it's a guarantee. He's
All
just,
right.
dude, he has always had souped up trucks, and like he has, I don't know how he has time to take care of all his stuff to that degree. Like, if you're around his boat in the parking lot in the morning, or his truck in the morning, like, it's like all immaculate. And maybe it's just I live on a dirt road and I can't fight it all the time, but gosh, he keeps his stuff in good shape. It is incredible.
He hires Charlie Hartley to wax, wash, and polish.
I wonder if he is
morning.
the off the water guy after a day on like a Charlie Hartley. I wonder if he cleans during
He keeps
the
his
event.
stuff. I mean, I'm not like buddies with him. I mean, I'm cool with him, but we're not like hanging out in Oklahoma. But he is friends with a lot of guys that I do hang out with, and they say that his things are kept rather clean and organized the majority of the time.
I feel like he might be like, so Brian Thrift keeps stuff clean and organized because he might have a mental breakdown if he didn't. Like, he has a robot vacuum for his garage. And I would say that Burge is not probably that level, but it is a little bit similar, that like he has got his stuff all every time
Buttoned up, dialed in.
Yeah.
All right, we could go forever on this because we got three nerds.
Ike has one of the dirtiest boats. I don't know about truck.
Who does?
Ike has I'm looking at the comments here. Ike is
yeah.
one of the dirtiest boats.
Well, I mean, the
There's
guys haven't even mentioned it. The dirtiest of all time, who I'm working on, Connor Jacob tomorrow, BTL 8:30 confirmed.
Lock it in.
Also, I don't want to give anyone else any ideas, but I'll say it. Also working on getting Jeff Creed off the pontoon boat and back to talking about bass fishing. But for those who haven't been around for the last 6-7 years since Jeff Creed now runs a pontoon boat, Crab Island Empire, I don't even know how to describe his tackle, truck, and boat situation for the duration of his career.
Or garage.
Were you ever around Jeff Creed, Jody?
No.
Let's just say this. If you were ever around Jeff Creed, you very rarely saw the material that the floor was made out of, regardless of whether you were in a vessel, a vehicle, or a room.
I feel like if you were
think I could do that
at a media
and
event,
I'm not like a neat freak. I don't think I can pull that off.
But it wasn't dirty. It was just stuff.
no, I mean, you were literally, if you were at a media event with Jeff Creed and he was your first session in the morning and you were like, hey, I'll just catch a ride with you to the ramp, you probably were better off riding in the boat. Is that fair, Matt?
Nice.
Yes, that's fair. We got to talk about one more thing, and then we'll wrap things up. And I appreciate you jumping on last minute. It's 9:30 in Vermont, where you are, Jody, and you've been on the road for a couple weeks. This Toyota Series out of Messina was quite possibly, I ventured to say before you jumped on, one of the most unique Toyota Series based on the venue, the time of the year, how it actually played out, what happened with fog delays that I've ever read about. I didn't cover it, but that I've ever read about or followed. You've covered and done this a bunch. Would you agree that like pretty much every element that could come into play on this supposedly, here's a Toyota Series, here's how they're going to catch them smallmouth fishing, completely flipped the script in this Toyota Series event last week?
I don't want to say like completely, because it wasn't, like a lot of smallmouth bait still worked, right? Like guys caught them shallow on dice kind of stuff. They caught them on jigs out deep. They caught them on Carolina rigs and umbrella rigs. Like the normal stuff worked, but it was just so odd to have such a short playing field, because like I covered 3 days of that tournament. I didn't start the tournament with a full tank of gas in the boat, and I filled up after the tournament and didn't put in 50 gallons. I put in like 40 gallons, and I didn't even start the tournament on full. And that's 2 a half days of ripping around by Messina. It was incredible. Like, it was just weird because you think of the St. Lawrence as one where, basically you launch a boat and then you drive like 2 hours and you fish and then turn around. And so that was wild. And the fog delay was like something else. I mean, we're all waiting around for literally hours. I mean, we left at like 10:05 and takeoff was supposed to be at 6. And there really was never a moment in there where like you could have said, all right, let's go. Like, it was socked in the whole time pretty much. I mean, it was a really interesting tournament. It was really cool to focus on Messina because
no one ever focuses on Messina.
You don't focus on Messina. You focus on, Clayton and running on down the river, or well, up the river technically. But around Messina, there's like, so they built the dams and stuff there, and the water level is higher there than it is out by the lake. So like out by the lake, the water level is pretty close to like what it would be, quote, naturally, right? If there weren't any dams on the river. And at Messina, there's like foundations and road beds and stuff like that underwater. There's way more grass because a lot of it is flatter. And then I think there's also more grass because the river hasn't been eroding, that shoreline away for thousands of years. I think that there's more grass because a lot of it was like fields and woods and stuff like that. And they flooded it in the 50s when they built these dams and canals and stuff like that. And so it's not just hard bottom everywhere. It's fascinating. Like, I had no idea about any of this stuff. And all of a sudden here I am like, it's cool. Like, Messina really impressed me in a, like, this is a cool place to have a tournament way. I still don't know that a lot of people are going to be like launching the boat at Messina and staying in Messina, or launching the boat in Waddington and running east. But just because they get really big out by the lake, right? But like, it was pretty cool to have a tournament there and get to learn more about it. And like, you saw guys fishing road beds, you saw guys fishing rock piles. Largemouth played a little bit. Like, there were Julius Maisie, I think, he might have weighed all largemouth. He finished 13th. Carter Nutt, I think, weighed all largemouth. He finished 16th. Mm-hmm. He had kind of an iffy final day. He had 19-11 largemouth on day 2, moved way up.
Wow.
And there were guys literally catching smallmouth from 2 feet deep that you could visually see, or you had to cast beyond visual range to get them to bite, to guys catching smallmouth in 60 feet of water. Like,
yeah,
it was a really cool
that fog delay did. I mean, the Pride of Harrington Park, New Jersey, had a 19-pound 3-ounce bag on day 1, but only had a couple on day 2. Not happy with the fog there, but it happens.
Yeah, I mean, fog is, it's a thing, and there were walleye biting in the fog.
He caught one.
That was some pretty cool footage.
Is that why MLF had to put out the? Is that why the MLF had to come out? Okay, so we're at Champlain, and this video starts going around where it's like, dude, if you guys see Jody White, what he did during the fog delay? So you're on your boat, you're covering the tournament, you're obviously not fishing during the tournament or whatever, but.
Right.
You're in,
and like, it's a very off limits area. Like, yes, it's not like off limits, like delay. The fish are swimming in and out.
On a fog delay, and all of a sudden, through the fog, you see it was very clearly you. You're fighting a large fish, literally in a flotilla. Is it online anywhere other than just like social media?
I just put it on my Instagram. It's not like on YouTube or something like that.
I'll have to pull it up on your Instagram. You hook like a Canadian Records walleye.
Well, I don't know about that because I'm not really dialed on my walleye records. And I didn't weigh it. I just caught it and threw it back. But like, I was bored, right? I've taken a couple of photos. I'm like, whatever, we're chilling here for a while. So I'm like, well, let's see what's down there. And so I turn scope on and I'm like, oh, there's one. And so instantly I'm like, well, I guess I better get a rod out. Let's see if it'll bite. And lo and behold, it bit.
And then as a result of this, is that why the please do not fish during the...
Yeah, so then maybe some other people started to fish because all of a sudden it's a long fog delay. You can turn your scope on and see fish. Like some guys caught perch. I know at least one guy caught a smallmouth. I didn't see any other big walleye. This is Ethan Fields with the net.
So
on,
Ethan
by the
Fields
way.
grabbed the net. But the funny thing is, you have this from about 30 different angles.
Yeah. Yeah, because we were just like, I mean, we're all just floating around talking about fishing a little bit, and I fired it up. And it turns out that photographers are allowed to fish during off limits or during, fog delays.
Just not anglers.
However, the anglers are not, which was clarified subsequently.
Text message from Mark McQuaw. Fishing is not allowed until your boat number's called. Thanks. That was sent at 7:30 in the morning. Dude, that's a jammer walleye. You ever seen anything like that, Dave?
No, I have not. That's why it was so interesting.
Okay, I want to get your
It's like the
opinion
best
on one.
post I've ever done, too. Like, people were into that.
Yeah,
I'll never
222
create a piece of
shares,
content
almost
like that again.
5,000 likes, over 100 views. I had Ken Duke on, Dave, last week, and we're obviously talking about the St. Lawrence River. And I, just as a conversation piece, and I want to get your take on this too, Jody, and then we'll wrap things up for tonight, and we'll give away the combo pack of Beat Down Outdoors, the Transom Saver, and the, what are those things called? I always call them like the don't move your motor
Steering clips.
Steering clips. I suggested, because we've been to Thousand Islands a bunch, right? And it's fairly predictable. I suggested, this is hypothetical. I'm not saying that I believe this is what should happen, but hypothetically, it's a good discussion topic. Let's say MLF goes up there, Bass goes up there, and you must weigh in a mixed bag. Doesn't matter whether it's 4 largemouth and 1 smallmouth, or you could even go so far as to say a 3 and 2. Doesn't matter which way it is, but in order to weigh in, let's say you catch 3 smallmouth and 100 smallmouth and 1 largemouth, you're weighing in 4 fish. It's got to be 3 and 2, one way or the other. But you have to do that in the tournament. Does that work? Would that work? Or does that just completely degrade the integrity of the competition to do that? But specifically out of the St. Lawrence River, I think, what are your thoughts on that, Dave?
I like the possibilities. Do I think it will ever happen? No. I think there's too many factors tournament wise that play into it. I think you would get a lot of different opinions on that for sure. But I mean, I think it's a great idea. I don't know that.
I don't understand what factors would go into that wouldn't. I mean, you literally say, hey, you have to weigh in a mixed bag. It can either be 3 largemouth and 2 smallmouth, or 3 smallmouth and 2 largemouth, but it's just got to be 3 and 2. Everything else stays the same. Playing field stays the same. Everything's the same. You can only weigh in a mixed bag. Have at it. And
I think
that's
the factors I was more thinking of and referring to would be angler opinion on it.
Do
happening
people want
in the
to fish
first
that
place.
tournament?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Will they sign up? Yeah. I think it'd be amazing. I'd have a blast. And I would definitely fish one of those tournaments. That said, it does seem like more of a, Starlink Team Series thing or a one-off kind of thing than a thing that necessarily guys would want to be like part of the regular season. Although we are doing some weird things with regular seasons these days, so like maybe it'd be fine. But I don't know. I do like forcing diversity. I think that's one of the cool things about northern fisheries is like you have so many different ways to catch fish, and lake to lake, like a great day can look so different. So, I mean, theoretically, I'm for it for sure. In practice, I'm not. I would, probably leave that to the tournament directors.
You wouldn't want the angler of the year.
But
okay. So I say that to say this, and I didn't talk about this with Mr. Duke, but I think it's hard to believe that was this year, the ill-fated team tournament series, DTF fishing. Like, isn't that hard to believe? That was 2026.
on his jersey.
Out of
I
principle.
don't know why I didn't put a little duct tape.
Doesn't
or
that
something on
seem like 5 years ago that Ethan Phillips was bringing the brightest and best minds across the country for a big time team tournament down at Okeechobee?
It feels like, yeah, we're all old though, so time
It does
flies.
seem like it's such an afterthought at this point.
Yeah. So I say that to say this. I believe that there is a space, particularly through a specific part of the country, for the MBT, the mixed bag tour. And it's either 2 or 3 species, depending on where you're at. But spotted bass, largemouth, smallmouth bass, and then the championship is at Table Rock. And for the championship, your 5 fish bag, doesn't matter what it is, but you must weigh in all 3 species.
One of each.
One of each at it. So you have, you could have a tournament that's spotted bass and smallmouth. You could have a tournament like a Smith Lake where it's spotted bass and largemouth. I don't know if there's anywhere you could just have a spotted bass and smallmouth.
There's some places though where it gets really complex and you need a biologist and testing on hand. Like,
this is just theory, Jody.
Slot limits.
Okay, I think you just need to pick your lakes carefully.
Let's not. Yeah, like we cannot have one on the Tennessee River.
Fort Loudon off the table.
I'm just saying. Or I mean, you might even have you could throw the shoal bass, you could throw a mean mouth in there as well, and that could count as whatever. You know what I mean? Like a mean mouth could count as a largemouth, a smallmouth, or a spotted bass. Yeah, Seminole, whatever. I'm just as a thought-provoking question, the MBT, the mixed bag tour. Yeah, I want to talk about strategy and practice and things like that.
You've got a great opportunity coming up, Matt. Why don't you implement it at the Dick Hiley St. Jude coming up? Why don't you talk them into that? Be a great testing ground.
No.
Why? Don't want to go on the largemouth practice up there?
Just think about how cool that would be, though. Like on the Mississippi River out of La Crosse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to figure out current seams for smallmouth, and you also have to run backwater.
And you have to do it all in a timely fashion, right?
Vermont has done stuff like this in like their Bass Nation things where they'll be like, you have to catch either a mixed bag or you have to catch some of your fish like above the Champlain Bridge and some below the Champlain Bridge. Or they'll have one day of the tournament that goes out of Mounts and one day that goes out of Larrabee's, like on the south end, to like sort of like force mix stuff up. And if you look at what I think it's Classic Bass, what's that Minnesota trail? The Everfish Count
Champions Tour.
Champions Tour.
Yeah.
They do like these lake splits where they make you like
choose
in
which
the morning,
half of the lake.
Everyone fishes in one half of the lake. In the other part of the day, everyone fishes in the other half of the lake. And sometimes they're like super dramatically different.
But I think they can choose. I think they can pick which half they want to fish in, which adds another element to it.
Oh, maybe they can. Or maybe it used to be and they changed it. I don't know. But anyway, point being, like, it can work. Like, tournament trails can run, like, some weirdly convoluted stuff, which is, I mean, actually the guys will sign up for and fish and enjoy. And especially when you've got a cool fishery, like, I think it's fun to like, see every corner of the fishery. That's one of the reasons I've enjoyed the mixed scope stuff so much is because you see a little bit of everything that's available on that tournament day. And, like, I like it. And the Champlain, I love a mixed bag on Champlain, man. Like, whenever I fish up north, like, I don't know if I've ever, like, had a tournament day where all I did was smallmouth fish. Even though I probably should have sometimes, like, I always like to get distracted and run around and try and catch a largemouth because it's just cool.
I think I fished 3 docks when I was up there, and I caught a 3.5 and a 2.5 off 2 of the 3 docks that I fished. No, I never fished one in the tournament on the Koike. And I literally was like, I can see the bottom. I can see the whole dock. I can see the entire structure. Where did this fish come from?
They come out of the ground, dude. There's portals under the docks.
You've seen it at Oneida, haven't you, Dave?
You were on the Tommy Biffle pattern.
I mean, you want to talk about materializing a fish.
I'm just
It
thinking
was wild.
Biffle was doing it from what, 2 feet away with 25-pound test and Biffle
And a
bug.
bug.
Yep.
All right. Let's pick the winner. Dave, you're going to tell me to stop this time. I've got to do a lot more scrolling this time, but one of the listeners will get a Beatdown transom saver and steering clips universal fit. So fear not if you're in our comment section and missed the first half of the show. This will fit your Tahatsu.
Any
250.
dual ram trim motor.
What is that? How do you spell the name? I'm looking this up. I want to see if it exists. If there's like a bass boat with a 250 Tahatsu just burning down the leg.
I don't know, but I looked them up and they look kind of cool.
No.
Bass boat Tohatsu speed test.
That's going to be your thing now, Jody. At any event you go to, is this searching out a Tahatsu.
Look, if I find one, you guys are getting photos instantly. All right, they may be long range.
There it is. That's not a bass boat, but there's a 250 Tohatsu.
It's a good looking motor.
Dude, maybe next year you're gonna have a Tahatsu on the cat. Maybe you can make this a thing.
Making a switch this year, Jody. I've got a Yamaha show headed my way.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe Tahatsu's gonna come up with a big box.
Surely,
congrats on Yamaha. That's a sick motor too.
Yeah,
they're so quiet when they start. I love it.
All right, I'm gonna start scrolling. Tell me when to stop.
Which of us is telling you when to stop?
This is Dave, because you did it last time. I want to make sure I've got all the comments. Oops, I got to be on the comments. I got all the comments. I'm scrolling all the way down. Mitch Rapp is back. MITCHRIPP is back. His random comment is bass don't eat urchins in Maine. I don't know whether that was tongue in cheek or not. There's a little section there where there's like a little Maine discussion. Email matt@basszone.com. Also info@basszone.com. And the same email, I'll forward that to Dave from bestontour.net. And they'll send you, courtesy of Beatdown, the transom saver and steering clips. We've already given away the transom saver earlier in the show. So big shout out to the folks over at Beatdown for that. We got to get Jody some of that, because Jody's one of those dudes who will fish as long as there is open water. And
sometimes it's only semi-open.
Probably struggles with trying to get the clips off of the boat at times. Even the metal ones get a little cold and brittle.
I mean, it certainly couldn't hurt. I actually found out this year that if it's cold enough and you trailer, even though your steering is like actually good to go and just recently replaced, you'll lose hydraulic fluid, because when it's cold, your like little gaskets or whatever will shrink down, and you'll wiggle hydraulic fluid out as you go, and you'll think you have a steering leak when in fact you don't. It's just too cold to be using a boat.
That's
so
dedication.
Anyway, that was this year's thing that I learned. Don't recommend it.
All right. I know we weren't really expecting to talk as much as we did about the St. Lawrence River, but when you've got Jody White on, it wasn't that long ago when you were just winning Bassmaster Opens on the St. Look at that! Look at the intensity of that.
Days.
Winning Bassmaster Opens on the St. Lawrence River, and had you fished the entire series, we would be able to introduce you as Bassmaster Classic qualifier, Jody White. But
cool.
You got hit by the details there.
Yeah, it's crazy they have rules. Hate that.
You didn't do anything wrong. You just didn't fish all of them. And since you won, do you remember who you got into the Classic?
I remember that I didn't get any steak dinners or Tackle Warehouse gift cards out of it. But I don't exactly know who it was.
You didn't. If I was ever in that position, I would have tracked that guy down and got something out of that, because that was at the time a guaranteed additional $10,000 plus the Bassmaster Classic.
I mean, I'm sure that they, earned it their own way too. That's just how it goes.
We will have Jody on again to dive into this topic. We'll be here 2.5 hours, I'm sure, to get
Maybe
his
more.
thoughts on
It's gonna be
Champlain in
fun.
April. If you want, a lot of good comments having you on tonight, Jody. If you want more of Jody White over on MLF, you do a podcast over there and have day 5.
Day 5 is the podcast is very sporadic these days, but day 5 is great, and I write a lot for the website and cover a lot of tournaments. So
you could
definitely
just do a
checking us out.
podcast, and each show you focus on one of Bankshaw's top 10s, and you would have 2 years of material.
Yeah, and rapidly growing.
I appreciate it, Jody. And if you're looking for organic, hand-spun, Vermont dyed, natural dyed wool. Did I get that correct? And I say this in all seriousness. Like if for a wife, a girlfriend, maybe you're into knitting or something like that. I'm not kidding when I say this. Like it's the like tied up Koike of wool. It's not the TV version of it.
No, this is the real deal.
What's the website?
wingandaprayerfarm.com.
There you go.
And we can ship it to wherever you are.
It's right there in the house. Just a big wall of hand-dyed yarn with like beads and all sorts of different
it's not in the house anymore. We moved it. We have a shop now. We moved it. It's like it's still adjacent to the house, but it's like it's in its own space, and it does look super good.
Closer to the attack llamas.
Yes. Yeah. Very well guarded.
Yeah. Jody White, everybody. See ya.
All right. Hey, thanks for having me.
See you, Jody.
Later. I don't know what MLF pays him, but it's not enough.
No, absolutely not. He is very prolific writer over there at MLF, but man, you can tell when guys are actually passionate about what they do, and Jody's one of those guys. Makes a huge difference.
Yes. Like I said, Jody White. Double the salary, and maybe you're in the.
I feel like with Jody on, I do have to make a clarification. I said earlier that every time Bankshaw launched his boat in MLF events, he averaged $29,000. That is when he cashed a check. He averaged $29,000. Every time he launched his boat, he averaged a little over $17,000. So just wanted to make that correction, since we had somebody like Jody on, who I'm sure when I said that, his brain was probably spinning because he probably knew that number.
I've never done this. I was curious on what my stats would be. It has to be like $11 per tournament.
Oh, that you just gave me that may be my stat of the week on Best on Tour. Bankshaw earnings versus Matt Pangrac average earnings. That would be a great comparison.
So my MLF average earnings are going to be a little bit skewed because I only have 14 events over like 2 years, right? But I do have $32,000 in earnings in 14 events.
So you're decent there.
We'll see what that is. That's $2,285 every tournament I fish with MLF.
Okay.
Bass is
we'll take that.
Just slightly.
Where are we at on Bass?
Bass's website is acting up.
Likely excuse.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't. I have 18 times in the money, but it's not showing like what my stats are right now. But I mean, I'll just say this. I've only cashed a check 18 times in 55 tournaments. I have 16 top 30 finishes in 55. So Bankshaw has almost as many wins in a third. Like I have like 4 times. It's not good. If you're going from that perspective. I mean, it could be a lot worse. It could be like 18. It could be way less. You know, I have 18. It could be 0. It could be 55 at 0. So I'll take the 18.
Would you like to know what our friendly AI has to say about your career?
I'm just impressed that AI didn't correct it when it said career.
Fair enough. According to AI, your career bass earnings are $59,270.
That sounds right.
Pangrac has steadily built those earnings throughout Bassmaster Opens and Bass Nation competition with some of his larger recent bass checks, including 9th place 2024 on Leech Lake, 25th place 2025 Leech Lake, 11th place 2020 Bassmaster Open on Neely Henry,
Not good.
and a 36 on the 2024 Bassmaster Open on Lake Ouachita. His career is highlighted by a third place finish in the 2019 Toyota Series Championship worth $20,100.
Expenses.
So,
How many does it say? So how many does it say that I fished? I'll tell you what my expenses were. How many does it say? That
if
I
this
fished?
is correct, it says you have fished 57.
50. Okay, so out of that, that's like
18
40.
passes,
That's like
5 top
48
10s, 9 top
opens.
20s, 16 top 30s, 0 Bassmaster Classic appearances.
So that's over $65,000-$70,000 just in entry fees for the opens. With another, I'm like 175,000 in, with 60,000.
Give or take.
It's a
That's
platform.
also saying that there
It's
was
a platform, Dave.
If that was in fact, factoring in, there was no interest ever involved on any of this money. If there were never,
I gave it the entry fee plus $2,000 because there's some in Oklahoma and all that close, and then some where you drive a long way and stuff. But
yeah, a little bit of difference there. But hey.
Couple weeks ago, some dude tried to take a shot at me in one of my videos, and he said, "Yeah, if Pangrac on winnings, he'd be eating beans and rice." And no, it wouldn't. It'd be just rice or just beans. Like beans and rice, absolutely not. I'd be so lucky to have a season to afford both beans and rice.
No big deal. We've been there. We could go back.
When are you going to jump in the opens, Dave?
I think that is that's probably not in the future for me. Maybe we've talked about it a few times. Just possibly if the schedule is set up decently, just go do it, try it. Kind of more of recreational thing, have some fun. I have not fished much this year at all, Matt. I mean, it's just been one of those years with work and everything we've got going on. Schedules have not lined up.
Too busy searching for Masters merch on the black market.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, really disappointed. Would love to be at the upcoming Nation Championship on Hartwell, but did not line up for me this year. Lined up last year, and I chose not to go to La Crosse the year before, but really would have liked to have done the Hartwell thing just because it's convenient and like the lake. But didn't have time this year, so we'll see about next year, see what happens.
All right, we're going to wrap it up with this. I kind of teased it at the beginning. Michael Neal, owner of Real Deal Tackle on the BPT, had a 3 or 4 minute, I wouldn't call it a rant, but it was a really big discussion about price gouging koi keys and the reselling of koi keys, not only just from other, anglers who are buying more than they're using and then reselling them for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times the price, but also other shops, other things that are buying them and then selling them for more than retail. Your thoughts on that, Dave? I know that you can kind of maybe explain that a little bit better.
Yeah, I would suggest that for context, everybody, if you're interested in what we're talking about, head over to the Real Deal Tackle Facebook page and Instagram. And check out the video that Matt is referring to. For those of you who are not as familiar with kind of what's been going on, it's been very, very difficult to get your hands on an actual hide-up koi key. The urchin style baits, all of them based off of the hide-up koi key, the original. And man, I mean, it has just been crazy the amount of money that those are going for on resale. And the best way I can really describe it, I was going to kind of do some comparisons with this. This happened in the sneaker world, the shoe market, a few years back. A lot of guys would have like shoes they wanted to get, and Nike or whoever would announce dates that these things were going to drop, and it ended up either what was happening is you were having bots that were buying them all online, or you had guys that were sending tons of people to stand in line at stores. They were buying up the supply, and most, if not all, of the product was going to the resale market, places like StockX, things of that nature, and the prices were just absolutely absurd. And that's really what's been going on with the hide up koi key. I think that the kind of the new frontier for that is Whatnot. If you guys are familiar with Whatnot, it's an online kind of auction site, kind of a great point there with the comment about the Pokemon scalpers. Same scenario. So Michael, I think from a retailer perspective, really has a unique take on it. He's a professional angler and he's a retail store owner, but I think from his perspective, in my opinion, he wasn't against supply and demand, not against capitalism. What he was against are, from a retailer perspective, other retailers overcharging for baits, taking more than a fair profit on the baits. And then from the black market perspective, I think where his frustrations come is from the customer service perspective, right? Because there's only so many of those baits. You do a drop, you try to do it the right way, and you're to a point now where you're having to do a drop. You're basically having to announce, hey, these are going to be available online at 1:00, or these are for purchase in store only, and limit is 2 per person, or whatever everybody's doing. And then all of these retailers, if people aren't able to get a koi key, these retailers are just having to take a beating really from customers, dissatisfied people who are not able to get their hands on these baits. And it's just really something we have not seen in the fishing industry before. I think a lot of it is accessibility.
A little bit with the glide baits, little bit. Like
little
if you get
bit,
on back in the day with the swim bait message boards and stuff, they tried to kind of self-patrol that a little bit.
Yeah, but not to this extent, right? The koi key thing is just really crazy. Usually the biggest thing you have complaints from brands and from consumers, whatever, are the disability for people to break MAP pricing. So MAP pricing is like minimum advertised price. So usually it's the opposite way, right? Where people, if something is a retail of $19.99 and a store around the way is selling it for $16.99, that's a big no-no. That's a big deal. Companies do have MSRPs. There's nothing against, technically against a store selling something for double what they paid for it. I guess, it's supply and demand, right? But I think it's to the point where it's interesting to me that the koi key thing is almost gotten to, in my opinion, it's almost like the new forward-facing sonar debate. It seems like the forward-facing sonar fervor and the disagreements about that have really calmed down. You saw new transducers announced at ICAST. Hasn't been nearly as much talk about that as there has been about koi key demand, koi key knockoffs, people, overcharging for koi keys, the price of koi keys, the limits of koi keys. How can I get koi keys? It's insane.
It's a good listen.
Yeah, definitely. And just don't, and the thing is, you go on there now, there's just on their Facebook page, there's over 200 comments, and I would say 98% of them are totally positive, thanking Michael for really stepping up. And these are from other retailers, from other manufacturers, from customers of Real Deal Tackle, and people buy tackle everywhere, but people really saying, I'm glad somebody finally came out and said something. Now, will it change anything? Has Michael drawn attention to maybe some stores that were maybe not doing the right thing? Will that change something? Possibly, but I don't think it changes anything on the resale market. I think, guys are going to make money and they have the right to do so. Maybe put a little bit more of a magnifying glass on some of these guys and where they're possibly getting their supplies from. Are there some retailers involved, or there's some things going on behind the scenes that probably should not be going on? Maybe it puts a little bit more of a magnifying glass on that. But I'm sure right now, if we wanted to, we could probably go on Whatnot or eBay or whatever the case is, and there's still guys that are selling koi keys at a massively inflated price. But we say it all the time, if there's somebody out there willing to pay for it, that's going to continue to happen. But I think it really is a lot of FOMO too. People really want to get their hands on those baits, and it's very, very difficult to do so. It's not a bait that's easily mass produced. I think the demand for that bait has really surprised everybody. So there was never a way to plan for the type of reaction and really fervor that we've seen for the hide up koi key. But if you're lucky enough to get your hands on some, they obviously work, and hide up is the brand that everybody wants. Even given the fact that we have so many knockoffs, it's still crazy to me that there's still such a massive demand for the actual hide up koi key when there are a ton of other options available now. But it's definitely a pretty penny for the hide up koi key right now.
You know how I'm going to pay for mine?
Not with career bass earnings.
I have I showed these to Charlie Hartley. I have some Gem Mint 10 trading cards that I'm going to sell. And these are going to go for a lot because this is the only known photograph of Tommy Biffle smiling. So that is true. That's guaranteed worth a couple koi keys.
I wonder if PSA, I mean, I'm sure they grade any type of trading cards, but I wonder if there's any PSA graded bass fishing trading cards out there available.
That would actually be cool to do. Here's the only photo of Skeet Reese not wearing yellow.
Yep, or Team Mercury, early days.
I'm getting ready. I pulled a hell of a one out of these 19.
Where did those come from?
Mercury cards. Here's a second year star, Kevin Van Dam.
Did
you know he was with Berkeley Trilene at one point?
I'm sure he's been with a lot of people. I mean, who would he have been with?
But this is what's gonna fund the majority of the koi keys. I mean, this is crisp corner. It does not look like it has been altered or trimmed in any way, shape, or form. This one. That's the money one right there. The Randy Blockett out of Joplin.
I think that's the autographed PSA graded one.
That's the one that I get autographed and then send it in and get it graded and put in the brick.
I think so.
Who's he working with then? Lunker Lure.
I remember that.
Lucky Strike.
I remember that. The Lucky Strike tube, I think.
HD Optics. That sounds suspiciously close to an electronics company, if you ask me. Or maybe sunglasses. Ranger.
Okay.
Jim something. Mercury.
I think you could get the Wheaties box back there would be a great PSA grading opportunity too.
Yeah, I think I just get it graded flat like this. I don't think I get it. That's a great point by Nancy Zipper or 8819, who's usually on my case, but in this time gives a very helpful tip when it comes to
that is a great tip. You know, that's another market that's just gone crazy. I don't know why that's popped up in my feed lately, but the trading card market is absolutely insane right now. The prices that these guys are getting for these cards.
We'll close it with this. One of the best things to do this year. at this time of the year, because I was just up north where the weather's like nice and stuff, is pond hop. When was the last time you had a good pond hopping session?
Decade.
From the bank where you're like, especially if you're in like a state where you don't have
I'll tell you, do you remember probably the last time I fished a pond? We were in Florida staying at one of those like patio home trailer park type of deals.
I remember that.
And I caught like this. It was a huge, it probably would have, I don't remember it. I just remember it was a big fish. It was a big fish. It was real skinny, but that was.
Was it a pond or canal?
It was a pond and it had a fountain in the middle, and they were hanging around the fountain.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Anyway, I was just scrolling. I keep up dude who I played. He was kind of the enforcer, but he also had a good set of mitts on him. My buddy Stu had a good pond session, and he thought he had like that's a nice bass, right?
That's a healthy looking pond bass.
It is. Wait till you see this though. I came across his boy Hunter, and I'm gonna zoom in on this first. Like, look at that pond. Like, you got a little bit of duckweed in there. You got a little bit of bank grass.
Nice manicured bank too, where you can get down.
But it's also vertical, so you know that there's a little bit of depth in it. You know, Stu was feeling good until his boy Hunter. Absolute unit of a bass. Look at that thing. Got the grip and grin going.
They're eating well in that pond.
That's a heck of a fish.
It's a nice neighborhood pond there.
Yeah, a great pond fish from Hunter out doing his dad's stew.
Good fish anywhere.
Yeah,
that's cool. You were kind of into the pond deal for a little while there.
When I first moved to OU, I didn't get a boat until my senior year here. I would do a little pond jumping around. It was fun. The only problem was that once I saw a snake at one of them, I would never go back. So I ran out of ponds pretty quick.
Yeah. They like ponds and banks.
All right. 2-hour show tonight. Connor Jacob tomorrow. BPT rookie in 2027. And we have a new color drop Thursday morning with Frank Scalish signature series.
Next time,
Cody White, last minute. I was talking about all this stuff and we were trying to figure it out. I said, I'll just ask Jody to come on. It was like he had planned it for a month. He just has those stats in his head. Where can people get more information on this type of stuff behind the scenes? You do a lot of it over on bestontour.net.
Bestontour.net. You can head over there, sign up, subscribe for the weekly newsletter. Goes out on Thursday mornings once a week, free of charge, and we'd love for you to subscribe.
We'll talk to everybody tomorrow. See ya.